Hey there, geeks! Welcome to another edition of Comic Card Crazy. Our Image Comics series continues here. Of course, we've already opened up a pack of the Savage Dragon cards, some Wildcats cards, but this time around we're going to stick with kind of that Homage Studios group. How about some Wetworks trading cards? I gotta tell you, I did not know these existed. In fact, this is the most expensive pack of cards we've had to purchase for this series. They're not common. You don't come across these very often. So Wetworks is one of those things, right, that it was a very big deal. I mean, just like Jim was coming off of X-Men, Whole Portacio coming off of X-Men, very popular. In fact, he got an entire cover of Wizard Magazine months before this was supposed to hit the stands, right? And of course, as we know, due to some unfortunate family circumstances, that did not happen for a long time. But even like Hero Illustrated was releasing an ash can that had all sorts of details about the characters. Then Wizard even released, one of their trading cards that they packed in using that cover art. And then, eventually the comic does come out. Okay, so we get our Wetworks #1, another fold-out cover here, so very nice. And I actually got a chance to read these way back when for the podcast, and this ended up being a series that I kind of enjoyed more than many of the other launch titles from Image. There's just something interesting about, the symbiotes going on with these military guys, but then there's like werewolves and vampires involved and stuff. Like, it was just kind of a crazy supernatural, military action adventure I did not see coming, so it's kind of a nice surprise. But I'm going to be curious to get into these cards because, we see the gold foil or, at least, the look of it on the cover. Is that going to continue into the cards? Are they going to have like a gold border? Is it going to have any enhancements in there? I just don't know. So let's open it up and find out. Okay, so here we are with our pack of Wetworks trading cards from 1995. Tells us we get 7 chromium cards, so there is one question answered right away. They're all chromium, going to have that effect to them. You see they're brought to you by Wildstorm, and if you actually look here, it's kind of hard to read probably because of the reflection, but it actually tells us that there are some gold chromium cards, and then there's some die-cut cards in there. So that's going to be really interesting to get into. But again, this is like a solid pack of cards, feeling this, feels like a little bar of gold there. That's just kind of neat to look at. So let's open this up and let's see what is inside, because I know this series, aside from having read it for the podcast, mainly for the McFarlane action figures. So let's get in here. Let's see what we got. All right, first up here. Okay, so yes, this is kind of like those, when we're thinking about the Wildcats cards we just opened up. But this is a character I 100% do not recognize from my reading at least, but definitely looks very fantasy-oriented. So, Elviorn. Were there elves involved in this too? We had actual vampires, but also elves? Interesting. Okay, so yeah, Draken. I mean, there's all sorts of names here I don't recognize, but that's interesting. Okay, see if we get a member of the team here. Not quite yet. This looks like definitely some type of vampiric character. Let's see. Coronation of Draken. So there was that name we just heard, actually. And talking about, for centuries, Draken has dreamt of the day he would become king of the vampire nation. Yeah, so definitely that makes sense. That was a look that you could not deny. Oh, here we go now. So we have an awesome look at Pilgrim here, ready for action. I'm wondering how much of this art is by Wilson himself, or is this somebody else? I mean, this one obviously is not. This is Casey Jones. Wait a minute. Casey Jones? That's pretty awesome if that's a real name. So Lieutenant Maritza Blackburn is one of the best snipers in the world and served with Delta Force, the only woman to do so. So Pilgrim, what I remember most is that I think in this interview in the issue below here, that he said he based it on a cousin or a friend of his who was a cop, and she was awesome, so he's like, let's do a character like her. All right, so here we go with what looks like more vampire type characters, but look at the reflection on these is almost ultra, mirror like. It seems a little bit enhanced compared to what we've seen before. So Wilder, one of Johnny Savoy's most trusted friends, Wilder is never far from the rock star vampire prince's side. He fought alongside Wetworks during the battle in Madison Square Garden. Okay, so I remember that in like issue 2. Yeah, there's like a vampire rock thing, but this doesn't look very rock and roll here. This is kind of a weird. Is that the same character, but he can transform? It kind of looks like, huh? All right, who's next here? All right, well, we got one of the Wetworks team there. And it looks like Deathblow behind him and probably Grifter without his mask on. Going to talk a little bit about Team 7, maybe? Let's see. So after defeating Bastion, the last people Dane expected to see were his old Team 7 teammates. Yep, Cole Cash, Michael Cray. Cash tells Dane that Bastion was looking for a Daemonite key that powers a ship capable of destroying the Earth. Okay. Interesting. So who is the artist on this one? Oh, Trevor Scott. Okay. A name I've heard in the mix back in the day. Again, very, very shiny. All right. So let's check this out here. So there's Grail. Definitely stood out from the pack, not only for the hair, but just the face mask, right? Like that was always kind of a cool look. Now, I'm seeing Rainey. Looks like the signature there. So is this some Tom Rainey art? Yep, Tom Rainey. Okay. Dane used every trick in the book to recruit Captain Joel Alande from the Philippine military because the brash young soldier is worth 10 men in combat. That's pretty cool, yeah. That's a good look. All right, last card here. We have yet another member of the team. This is interesting. This looks like it might actually be Wells. Hard to get a good look at this because it's so reflective, so shiny. But look at those arm blades and the gun that's going on there. I mean, that's pretty intense. Let's see what this says here. So this is Claymore. Infected with a bioengineered virus during a battle with Draken, Claymore's symbiote almost killed him before it stabilized the infection. But now the symbiote is slowly dying, its golden skin turning black and brittle. Okay, interesting. So he was going through some trouble, but yeah, that is like the ultimate reflective chromium card. No gold chromium cards, but still interesting. Well, let's close this thing out, see which was my favorite. Okay, so looking at these Wetworks cards, I mean, they definitely, waited to put them out, and yet when they were out, I mean, they're a solid card, very reflective. I don't think I've ever seen Chromium that reflective. Like some of those cards, I literally could see myself in. So a fun set. The only thing that I think is different about these image cards, like they're telling a story, they're not giving the stats. Like when I think about the Marvel Universe cards, what got you so excited is it told you like, height, weight, place of birth, aliases. It gave you these details, the power levels, whatever it was, and it kind of pulls you in immediately. It'll give you a little, bio, a little synopsis about their history, but I think just like giving you a piece of the story and you got to read a couple paragraphs isn't as exciting as just like mapping it all out for you, just like sports cards, everything else. But as far as my favorite, if we're just going off like dynamic images, I really liked this Grail card. I thought this Tom Rainey art was really detailed and nice. Almost kind of has like a Simon Bisley flair to it, with the veininess and all that. So yeah, so this Grail card definitely is one that I would highlight as a favorite. Now, I don't know which of these packs of cards we've opened so far has been your favorite, but maybe it will be the next one. Again, we're continuing to visit all of the Image founders, the comics based on their launch titles. And so, of course, we got to go with the big dog eventually. Might as well get to it now. We're going to open up a pack of Spawn trading cards from back in the day. This is going to be fun. I've opened up some of these on the channel before, and they are a lot of fun. I just think, the great photography, great art, because there are some pictures of like the action figures, if I remember correctly. So we'll see. We'll get into it, but just stay subscribed here because Comic Card Crazy is going to continue. Now, I did want to give you a little tip, a little plug for patreon.com/Wizards Comics. Our Patreon for $5 a month, in addition to like early release episodes and scans of the issues, our bonus 90s Super Cinema podcast, we also release these videos earlier. And not only that, sometimes they have an extra pack that we open. So they're like an extended cut of what you're getting here on YouTube. So if this is a series you're really loving and you'd love to see more of these cards, sometimes the second pack is actually better than the one that makes it to YouTube. It's just, luck of the draw. That's what happens. So just wanted to give you an opportunity to go over there and see what we have to offer, because we're having a lot of fun on Patreon, but we're having a lot of fun here too. So stay subscribed to Wizards, the podcast guide to comics, and we'll be back with you soon. But until next time, keep your books bagged and boarded.